Hey everyone, welcome to our final class of the Getting Started with Jira for Scrum Masters. This is the end of this series. Not all of my community-led courses. I still have two more next week, but this is the end of Scrum Masters. And today we're going to be picking up where we left off yesterday, which was the Agile metrics. We just didn't have enough time to pick that up. And then so we're going to cover that, and then we're going to finish up with cross-team planning. I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks on how to do this. And if there's any time left at the end, because I'm not sure, again, how much time this is going to drive us through, we are going to basically open up for Q&A. Also, I totally forgot to do Bevy spamming again. Oh, boy. Oh, well. Folks, Bevy, it's there. It sucks. We don't like Bevy. Good morning to Justin. Good morning to Tuxen. So the regulars know where to be. The regulars know where to be at. Who thinks I should mess with Alex today? Let's not and say we did. How would that work out? Justin, not cool. Not cool at all. Because he's just going to mess with me the whole time and throw me off my game. Okay, a couple friendly reminders. The session is being recorded. It's going to be available on this YouTube channel after. It's no slides because actually this is probably one of my more slide-heavy presentations because I have like 10 bullets, maybe 8 bullets in there. So but still, no slides available because, again, I don't use the slides a whole lot. Hit that subscribe button to this channel. And while you're there, my good friend Ronnie is going to drop a link to our Jira Live podcast, which is a different YouTube channel. You should also go and subscribe to that channel as well. Hit those bell notifications. We go live on the Jira Live every single Thursday. We're going to be live tomorrow, and we're speaking with an Atlassian. And so it's always fun when we get to talk to Atlassians because they have all the secrets, right? They have all the secret sauce of how this stuff comes together. And so if you're interested in Rovo and Rovo Studio, we're talking with a Rovo Studio Atlassian. So come and ask your questions. It is a live interaction. So just like this, you get to ask your questions. All right. Chat. Ask away, ask any questions. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And also, there's a little leader game thing that YouTube does. So the more you interact, the more you comment, the higher up you go. And so definitely take advantage of that. There's also membership opportunities. We have a new member today. So thank you, Bill, for becoming a member to the channel. Appreciate it so much. And hopefully, I got 12 videos. I don't have enough fingers. I have 12 videos that are dropping before the end of the year. So you're going to get early access to those the moment they go on YouTube. So stay tuned for those 12 videos. And I do have 3 member-only videos that are dropping over the next couple of weeks as well. So, Bill, they're coming your way exclusive to just the members of this channel. All right, stick around for the end because I do have a favor to ask from you guys. I have a huge, huge, huge favor. And we're going to get a little serious. Actually, you know what? We're going to let me go a little bit, maybe about halfway. We're going to pause. I have a huge favor. We just did something pretty big, and I want you to be the first ones to know about it. And then I want to ask you for a favor. So we're going to get into that. All right. But kicking things off with some questions. Have you ever had to work with a different team on a different sprint cadence? And what I mean is, like, have you ever had 2 teams where maybe their sprint is like Monday through the other Friday, and it always starts in the same, every Monday, and then it ends every other Friday? Or have you ever worked with a team or the other team basically starts like on a Thursday and they go Thursday to Thursday, right? Have you ever had this phenomenon with 2 different teams that have to work together? They're just on different cadences, right? They're not computing, they're not mathing very well. And it creates a little bit of a friction, right? And so this is part of our cross-team planning. How do y'all deal with this, right? Like, how do we work when we have different teams on different cadences? And I just wanted to give you, this is kind of some of the topics we're going to cover today, is try to understand how do we do that? How do we work when we have that? But in the chat, just let me know, yes or no, have you ever had to work with a different team on a different sprint cadence? Again, maybe yours is Monday through Friday, and there's just like Thursday through Thursday, right? So have you ever had to do that? That is I've something that I've had to experience a few times. I worked at a small startup. I've done actually both sides. I worked at a small startup with the entire startup, right? There was 300 people, maybe 100 developers on the team. And so those developers, 100 developers were broken up into like 5 different teams, right? And so on a Friday, this is one of my favorite things of working at the startup, is like every single Friday, we all went to sprint reviews. So Friday was like literally team A sprint reviews, teams B sprint reviews. So we literally spent 8 hours just watching demos of the entire development team and all their productivity. And then on Monday, the following Monday, we had 5 different sprint planning sessions where we saw what all the different teams were planning, and there was a lot of orchestration, but it was easy because everybody was on the same cadence. Now, I've also worked in other companies where we didn't have that luxury, right? Where some teams go on, have a sprint review on a Thursday, some teams have it on a Monday, some teams have it on a Tuesday, and it just makes things a little bit more harder. So let's see what you all are saying. So we have Swen Peter here says, yes, different cadences is challenging. Absolutely. Luckily, Roland says, nope, no, not that problem. Randolph says, yes, you have that problem as well. And then Justin says, currently in the planning phase of how to go about this, we're looking to just joining their cadence, but man, it's overkill for some. Yeah, it's a pain in the butt. I will tell you that your life becomes infinitely easier if you're on the same cadence. So I think it's worth ripping the band-aid. I think it's worth going through the problems and the troubles to get on the same cadence, because when you're in sync, a lot of more things happen better. And this is especially true if you're scaling Agile, right? So if you're like not necessarily scaled Agile, but if you're trying to scale Agile beyond just that one team, like if you have like a scrum of scrums, right, where different scrums have to get together, scrum masters, you all have to be operating on the same schedule, right, on the same cadence. Otherwise, things could become very, very tricky. Next question. Have you ever had to manage conflicting priorities? Or how do you manage conflicting priorities? Just some random thoughts from, or I would like to hear your guys' techniques. How do you all manage conflicting priorities, right? Because I've been in this situation where I've had one director or one VP of engineering say, I want this. And then I have a different VP that's maybe not even engineering, but they're like, hey, I also want this. And so now I have two conflicting priorities and I can't do both, right? Like you can't do both. Different teams on different priorities. Like that's the problem as well. And so how do you manage conflicting priorities? What are some of the battle stories from your trenches here? What are some of your success stories in the trenches? If you're in the chat here, how do you manage conflicting priorities? This is a very, very important question, one that you should be really thinking about. And maybe over the Christmas break, over the holiday break here, if this is something that plagues you, this is maybe something you might want to invest some time and energy, maybe some meditation into it, because it's a very important problem to solve. Being able to manage conflicting priorities, especially when you're receiving multiple priorities that are different, when your teams are operating off of different priorities, it just makes things go way more slower. It adds a lot of unnecessary friction, adds a lot of bureaucracy to the whole process, and it's just not fun, right? It's not fun at all. So Justin says, easy, everything is a priority. The newer the idea, the top of the list it goes, but we're finally changing that. Actually, I don't know, man. Everything, the newer the idea, I operate out of my emails. True story. So I use my email. So if you guys ever need anything from me and you email me, I use my email list as my priority list, right? So forget the fact that I'm a master and an expert inside this thing called Jira. I will still work off of my email list any day of the week. And so if you ever need anything from me, I work top down. So if I don't get to you and it's been a few days, it's because you're down at the bottom now and you've been buried by all the new emails. And every time I open up my email, I'm back at the top working my way down. Probably a bad habit, but habit nonetheless. And so if it's not at the top, right? If you want my attention, email me frequently so you can get it back at the top, because the probability that I'll get to you is significantly higher. So that's the little pro trick. If you guys ever want to work with me, get an email at the top of the list. When everything is a priority, nothing is a priority. This needs to be a t-shirt. This needs to be exactly what everybody needs, because this is the truest thing that we've heard all morning. Alex needs an SLA for his mailbox. That's an app idea, folks. If you guys want to vibe code your way to get me an SLA for my mailbox. Luckily, Gmail does a pretty good reminder of like, hey, 3 days ago you messaged this person. Like, do you want to follow up with them? Inbox SLA for Jira. There we go. Take your emails, connect with your emails, pull them into Jira tickets, and know what's going on. People are now setting up automatic hourlies too, Alex. Yes, people out there now setting up automatically hourly emails. Yes. Bombard my inbox. If you ever need something from me, folks, you got to bombard my inbox. And then, Justin, we are going to Forge. To the Forge I go. You guys are too funny. You guys are way too funny for this December 10th. Also, it's tax day for all you property tax owners, people who own properties. Make sure you're paying your property taxes. Today's the last day to pay without penalty. So just adulting part of the presentation here. You'll thank me later. Okay. Last question here. What are the dangers of a story being in 2 sprints? Does anybody know? Has anybody ever had a story where like, I accidentally have it in 2 sprints? And we're going to show you this phenomenon during this course. But has anybody ever had this and walked out alive? Like, what happens? Who wants to spoil it for us? What happens? What are the dangers of a story being in two sprints? Drop it in the chat. And if you're watching the replay, let us know in the comment section. I think this is a good one to just put in the comment section if you know the answer. What happens? Oh, Ronnie has war stories. Ronnie, have you ever tried to put a story in two sprints? And people would ask, like, okay, so how do you do this? Why would you do this? How would this work? Right? Well, it's quite simple actually, because a story is for a story to be in a sprint is just populating the sprint field, and so you could put whatever values you want in there, and so it's very easy for you to accidentally put a story in the wrong sprint, and especially if y'all have sprints that are very similarly named, right? And so this is a phenomenon that can happen, but bad things happen. Bad things happen. Ronnie says no, but I've had to fix it when people did that. Yeah, fixing it is a nightmare. Forget about doing the task, but trying to fix it, holy moly, there's not enough money in the world that you can pay me to fix these. Also because it's really hard. Tiger says I had to prevent people from putting stories into two sprints when what they really want is for it to show up on two boards. Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about it today, and we'll get into some examples there, but this is essentially what people are trying to do, but I'm going to show you a couple techniques that are available out there today. Now, for full disclosure, folks, I almost didn't do this course today because I was a little, I don't know, not motivated this morning. And so we definitely did not script this very well. So today's going to be more like a working session than anything else, but I hope you guys enjoy that. If you guys don't mind the working session, definitely give me a +1 because we're going to have some fun here. Now, if you guys don't want a working session and you want something that's a little bit more polished, I encourage you to join our paid school community where Josh and I, we launched an awesome new avenue for you all. So bring your questions. We have weekly topics, TED Talks, really. We have dedicated courses. We have special courses that are just for you guys in the school community. So if you guys are interested in joining, something to hold you a little bit more accountable, right? Because learning is cheap. Learning is really, really cheap. But when you got to pay a little bit, that's when things get real. And so if you want to hold yourself accountable and you want a place with two very, very big experts, Josh and both Josh and myself, and definitely check out our school community. And this is where we also have our TED Talks as well. So we have a lot of TED Talks inside of here. Josh and I are usually at opposite views of almost every topic you can imagine. And so we always have a lot of great discussion around me trying to convince him why he's wrong and he's trying to convince me why I'm wrong. And so if you're into that kind of thing, like the school community is a place to go. So, a little bit about me in case you guys are tuning in here for the first time. Just this sounds like a broken record for most of you, so I'll try to do it kind of fast. But my name's Alex. I teach people on the internet how to use the Atlassian tools. I have the ACP 120, ACP 620, ACP 520, and one day I'm gonna have the 420. I have the ticket here, folks. I have the code ready for the 420. It even says 420 on there. It's gonna do it. It's gonna happen. I just gotta take it. I just gotta take it, and maybe I have to just do what Ronnie did and just take the test without studying all the way. But I'm very much afraid. I don't use JSM as much, um, and so I'm kind of worried about it. Rodney wants me to tell you all the Chipotle story involving Josh. Who wants to hear the Chipotle story involving Josh? Give me a +1 if you guys are interested in that story. While I drop a couple of links here for you guys. If you guys are interested in hearing the Chipotle story, give me a little +1. It's a quick one. It'll be like a minute. But for everybody else, while you guys are letting me know if you guys want to hear the Chipotle story, just I'm dropping in my link tree here. If you guys need any one-on-one help, I have one-on-one opportunities. I have the big book of Atlassian if you want to get that one. I have other Udemy courses, and spoilers for some announcements we're going to make in a few minutes. But we have a lot of stuff going on, so check out that link tree, and that's also where you find my link to the Jira Life, so you can subscribe to the Jira Life, but also the link to my LinkedIn, so you can connect with me and send me a connection request on LinkedIn. All right, so we're getting a couple of +1s for the Chipotle story. So let's go into the Chipotle story, and hopefully you guys. Okay, so I'm Mexican, folks. Okay, I'm Mexican, and Chipotle is like the Mexican grills, their slogan, and so I don't want to say I take offense, but I'm not gonna eat at Chipotle when I'm Mexican, and I can just make better Mexican food myself, right? And so going to Chipotle is not something on my list of high priority items. But my buddy Josh, he loves Chipotle. He probably has Chipotle once a week, if not more. And so I'm at this Builder Summit, right? This 3-day event that I hosted in October. And I'm running around, folks. I'm just going from place to place, making sure things are being recorded, making sure people know where to be, making sure everything's going well, right? And I'm physically running, like sprinting, not even running, but sprinting across the room, across the hotel, up and down escalators. Like it was a thing, right? It was a whole thing. Don't even get me started, Michelle, on Taco Bell. Okay, let's not jump into the Taco Bell, right? But anyway, so I'm running and I am like people are blurs to me, right? Like what other people are doing, if it wasn't that thing that I'm hyper focused on, like everything was a blur, the whole event. And so we're getting ready to record a podcast. I have a number of podcasts and we're getting ready to record a podcast. So I knew where I needed to be. Luckily, I had all the events in my phone. And so I knew I needed to be somewhere to record a podcast. But when I get to the podcasting room, like everybody's loitering outside the room and everybody looks very suspicious. But again, my mind's not registering the phenomenon that's about to happen because I just there's so much going on. It's towards the end of the last day, and I'm like just like, oh my gosh, I just don't even know, right? And so I walk in, sit down, I start recording, and Josh is there, and my buddy Sean is there, right? And we're just doing a podcast because that was on the agenda. I didn't think anything of it. I did think it was interesting that Josh was joining us because normally we don't have a guest, but hey, we were all in person. I had invited people to join and like record because all the equipment was there to record. And so I was like, oh, cool. Josh is just joining us. We had already done like previous recordings with Josh that day as well. So it wasn't out of the ordinary for me, right? I was like, it was okay. And so we're in the middle of the podcast, and like all of a sudden, Josh and Sean bring up Chipotle. And again, I'm not a fan. They pull out a Chipotle. Josh had Uber Eats delivered a Chipotle to the hotel, and they made me eat Chipotle on air to let them know what I thought about it. And so that's my Chipotle story. So let's not make me do it for Taco Bell. Mentioning Taco Bell is how I keep Alex awake during mega long streams. Oh, you guys, Taco Bell is getting the same price as just a standard street taco. No point anymore. Absolutely. Again, my one of my favorite episodes of The Big Bang Theory is when Raj says like because they have Indian food on a specific day, and Raj is like, "Did you guys ever consider that to me it's just food?" And so that's how I feel about Mexican food. Like to me, guys, it's just food. Like it's what I have every single day. Every day I have Mexican food. So, spoilers. All right, so what are we going to be learning today? And thank you, Rodney, for taking us down that very big diversion of talking about Chipotle and Taco Bell. Um, we have learned that the Atlassian community loves to play video games and apparently is passionate about not eating Taco Bell. So maybe we have like a one of my favorite things about Taco Bell though is like you can have like a Taco Bell wedding. And I think that'd be kind of interesting to do like a Taco Bell Atlassian day. Like we could definitely put like nerdy Jira quotes in the hot sauces. Like um +1 if Ronnie should make Alex eat Cajun food next. Ronnie, are you impersonating my account again? I don't feel like that's something I would say to myself. Okay, so what are we learning? We're picking back up on agile metrics. We're having a little fun. It's middle of December, folks. It's almost the end of the year. we're just having some fun, and then we're gonna switch over to some critical things here. So we're gonna go agile metrics, multiple boards, one space, multiple spaces, one board, compromise sprints, aka your stories in 2 sprints, all sprints view, parallel sprints, and then we'll talk about broken timelines. So we got a lot to cover, and we're gonna have some fun here, and definitely again, it's the end of the year. I'm feeling a little joyful, and we'll go for it. I did. We got married in Vegas and had a reception at the taco night. Yeah, so the Taco Bell nightclub is like a thing, right? Like you can do a Vegas Taco Bell wedding. Yeah, see the Taco Bell wedding.com. You can actually do this, folks. Like this is something you can book. I think this is like I feel like more restaurants should do this. Like this bouquet is really cool. Like I'm just saying we should have a Taco Bell themed um conference, but I just don't know if there's going to be enough toilets for everybody. Like we would have to do it in a place with a lot of toilets cuz Taco Bell and 300, 400, 500 people eating it at the same time might not end in the way we want it to end. But Michelle, you're a great wife for letting your husband have this moment of the Taco Bell wedding. Okay, sorry. This is so interesting to me that Taco Bell does that. Okay, so let's go to agile metrics. Let's wrap up a little bit of a conversation that we carried over from last week. We're just gonna spend 10 minutes on it, then we'll spend the last 30 minutes on the rest of the topic today. So, what are we talking about? Agile metrics, right? So we already covered all the reports, right? So we know everything about reports, and so now we're gonna go and talk about dashboards. And so inside of your Jira, you have helps if you go to Jira. Atlassian, you guys, you know what? Just putting this out there. Let me be the first person to address this. Horrible idea to rename your spaces, your projects to spaces, because I can never know if I'm looking at Jira or Confluence now. Because guess what? I name a lot of my Confluence spaces the same as my Jira spaces. And now I don't know because I'm looking at spaces and I think I'm in the same tool that I'm supposed to be in, but I'm in Confluence. Horrible, horrible. Let's get a petition and get projects brought back or something, because or at least not call them the same thing, right? I don't mind not calling them projects, but they can't be spaces either. Like it needs to be a different name. Like the little icon is not giving enough for me. Going to be up front here. I'm hoping to hear some clues for capacity management when you're managing cross teams. We have everyone fighting for resources. Yeah. So Tiger. So let me give you a little bit of tidbit there. We're gonna pivot just to give you value here, just because you asked. Very, very important. So capacity management is going to be very tricky to do if you are doing like out of the box, especially if you don't have the premium versions of Jira. So if you just have a Jira board and you're trying to do capacity management, you're gonna have a really, really hard time because Jira's not gonna do it very well. Okay, Jira is not going to cooperate at all because the board itself is usually it's limited to just the scope of the information in that board. Okay, and so you're not going to get as big of a cross section as you would like, because unless everybody's in the same team, right? Jira natively is not going to do it, right? So when we have teams, right? If we have teams of teams, that's where you got to bump yourself up to the premium version of Jira, so that you can have basically the ability to bring in multiple teams. Now, with that said, okay, not sponsored because we're sponsored here by Titan Apps, folks. Check out Smart Links, scan that QR code. They're looking for seeing how many people scan that QR code. So if you guys can scan that QR code and just go to that link, that'd be super awesome. But not sponsored by AppFire. But I had to do a call this week with a potential client of mine, and they wanted us basically do resource management. And the best app that I've seen so far for that has to be Big Picture right now. Again, not sponsored by them, but this is the one that I've seen. Now, I know that there's other resource management apps out there. I might have to do a little exploration with them. But if you use Big Picture, they have a resource. Okay, I got to go into my project. They have a resources section where you can see all your different teams. And then they have a team section where you can define who's in your team. So you can put team members into teams, and then you can allocate their percentage, right, of how much of their time is allocated to a specific team. Now, this is not necessarily sprint driven, although I think it can be. I picked waterfall because my specific client that I was working with wanted a waterfall demo, but I would assume that this would work from a sprint perspective, right? But once you define your teams, you can create the teams that you want. Very easy to create teams here. Then you can assign individuals to the teams. You can assign their allocation. This is especially helpful if you're sharing different, like a team members in two different teams. Not recommended, but in case it was, you can do that there. And then once you set up your teams, right, in your work perspective from your Gantt chart, you can basically take a task and then assign it to a team. So this particular task, I can give it to Team Alpha. And so whatever the duration and more specifically the time estimate, right? So each one of these has a time horizon to it, right? But whatever that time horizon is for this particular task, that then gets sent to the resource, right? So this particular team, let me see if I can move over to the team view, right? This particular team now has that extra work assigned to them. So as I go and assign more work to the team, you're going to see that this bar starts filling up with more and more resources that are being taken up. But when I switch over to the team view, to the resource view, you can start to see how many hours are available, how many hours are remaining, and like the capacity that's left or the total capacity of that team. So it's not doing it very well for me right now. I don't know why. It was doing it earlier. I think I must have clicked on something incorrectly. But this is a great view to basically get to that capacity management if this is what you're looking for. Because again, natively from Jira, you're just not going to get it, right? So it's not going to cooperate very well. So definitely check it out. Again, not sponsored, folks, but definitely check out. Big Picture is worth starting a 30-day trial and just checking to see if it works for you, Tiger. We do have premium, but we thought Jira plans would solve our problem, but not so far. Yeah. So with Jira plans, so Tiger, in case you're new to the channel, I do recommend. I won't have a chance to look at it all here today, but if you look up tech tutorials, right? If you go to my live section, so if you go to the live section of my YouTube channel, I do have resource and capacity management somewhere here. Where you at? Here we go. I recommend you check out this video. This video does walk you through what's available in plans. So it does have some capabilities, but it's not going to be as well thought out and as well orchestrated as what I just showed you in big picture. But whatever's actually possible, right? Let me back up a little bit. See, this is as close as we can get, right? If so there's a lot of caveats, right? You have to be using story points, you have to define teams, right? You have to be using sprints. So there's too many caveats for me, in my opinion, for the plans version to work correctly, right? But assuming you meet those qualifications, those caveats of you have teams defined, you're using story points for your estimates, and you have sprints, then the capacity planning inside of Jira plans might work out for you. But I have a feeling that most people would probably benefit from like the more traditional view that big picture gives you. And now again, not sponsored by AppFire, but do your research, folks. There's more apps out there for research management. I think Activity Timeline does it, right? What not going to be as well thought out, which Atlassian product we're referring to now. All of them, all of the Atlassian products, but definitely go check out in the Atlassian Marketplace resource management. And I honestly, you're just going to be better off with an app than anything else. Okay, so back to our regularly scheduled content. We're going to continue and finish. I was hoping to finish in 10 minutes our agile metrics, but folks, again, anything can happen today. If you're having fun, let me know. Give me a +1 if you're enjoying this very unstructured session today. Maybe that's what we do, right? Maybe in 2026, these sessions just become like you guys asking me questions. Have you guys heard of Jira duty? Has anybody heard of our Jira duty? And give me a +1 if you've heard of Jira duty. +1. Okay. Yeah. +1's Jira duty. Who has heard of Jira duty? Has anybody heard of Jira duty? Has anybody not heard of Jira duty? Anybody care for Jira duty? Jira duty is something. Ronnie, can you believe it's been a year? It's been over a year. The last time we did a Jira duty was like last September, last October. All right, so Jira duty is a pretty cool thing that I haven't done it in a year. It's been a minute, but Atlassian has a forum, right? Atlassian has so I'll give you the backstory, folks. So there was a day about 3 years ago where I wanted to become an Atlassian champion. I wanted to be part of this inner circle, if you will, of folks that are like cheerleaders for Atlassian. And there used to be called community leaders. Rodney, who's in this chat here, he's one, and he's one of the OG community leaders, even though apparently he says that there's still even OGs before him. But I still think of Rodney as one of the OGs. But anyway, so there's this community leader program. It's now rebranded to Champions, and I wanted to get in, and so I tried to get in. And Atlassian told me that the 500 videos that I had made at the time teaching people how to use the Atlassian tools was not enough to qualify me to become a community leader, because I was not answering enough Atlassian questions, right? I was not answering enough questions. And I'm like, well, I have 500 videos, and every single one of my videos is a community question, right? So Atlassian was specifically referring to, and by the way, I'm on the homepage for the community now, right? I'm on their page. And so Atlassian specifically at the time, right? Since then, we've made some major reform and made some major changes, mainly because of my complaints, right? But Atlassian basically told me, if you want to become a champion, a community leader, you have to go to the forums and you have to answer questions. And so if you go to the community questions, if you ever have questions on how to use like Jira and stuff, like there's a place where you can go and ask questions, right? And so I created this thing. I'm like, okay, so I have to answer a lot of questions, right? Because Atlassian won't let me become a champion or a community leader if I don't answer questions. So I created this, like, to me, and I had dropped off my mom at jury duty, right? You know, that civic duty that you got to do as a citizen of the United States of America. And so this is something that nobody ever wants to do, right? Give me a +1 if you guys are genuinely excited for jury duty. Sorry, jury duty. I actually have my summons right here. I don't want to show any special information, but I have my summons that I have to go take care of, and I intentionally moved it to the week of New Year's, like New Year's Eve, hoping that people don't want to work over Christmas. But we'll see. We'll see how how good that works or not. But anyways, nobody ever wants to do jury duty, right? Like it's not the thing that you wake up for in the morning. You're like, yay, we're gonna go to jury duty. So to me, having to do these activities, right, having to answer these questions, these Jira questions, felt like my civic duty that I needed to do in order to become a champion. It was like that barrier to entry. So I created Jira duty in an effort to basically create a live stream where I would force myself on the internet and go and answer questions, right? It was just me answering questions from here because I had to rack up my answers because that last thing is measuring how many answers, right? So everybody has like a little profile that they get to see, and it shows you how many questions you've answered. It shows you like there's like little badges and stuff, right? You can get some credentials. Apparently, I have 9 credentials, right? But you could there's this like a whole thing that Atlassian like adds to you, right? Like how many answers you've done, and like some people like Rodney probably has like 1,000 of them. There's other people have like 10,000 of them, right? And so these numbers, this is what Atlassian is checking for, right? When you're trying to become a community leader. And so since I didn't have any, I had to force myself to do these Jira duties to essentially answer questions. So that's how that's how we became a champion. But then I didn't need the Jira duties because Atlassian changed the rules after Ronnie complained a lot for me, and they were able to allow me to enter with the 500 videos on YouTube that did answer questions. But yeah, that's the story of how I came to be here now. All right, back to our schedule. Holy moly, we are off tangents so badly today. This feels like an episode of the Jira Life. Okay, so on the dashboards, you have the ability to create a dashboard. I'm just going to call this Agile Metrics. Okay, and if you've ever created a filter, dashboards behave just like filters, right? You need to open your filter up and the dashboard to the right team. So we're just going to keep it private for now, but usually you want to open that up. Now, from an Agile Metrics perspective, right? The reports that we looked at, this is like a 1 minute training here, folks, because to be very, very honest with you guys, like there isn't a whole lot you can do here. So in our gadgets, we're going to have a couple of gadgets that are going to help us from a quote unquote agile perspective, right? And it's very, very limited. So as you look through this list here, we have a gadget here that is days remaining in your sprint. So you pick your sprint, right? So I'm going to pick my iOS one, maybe AT one, right? It'll show the board name, it'll show the sprint name. It'll automatically move to the next sprint automatically. When I hit save, we get how many days are left in the sprint. Cue confetti. Do I have my what effect do I have here? There we go. Yay. That's all we can do. Not a whole lot, right? But here's an agile metric. Then as we keep scrolling our way down, we're going to go. We are eventually going to get to the sprint burn down chart. And so we can bring that one over. And very similar, you define your board. It'll automatically go to the next sprint. You hit save. And now you're going to get a representation of that burn down we were looking at yesterday, right? So your burn down shows up here. And then finally, you get a sprint health, right? So this is the last gadget that you have. And you really only have 3. There's really nothing else, right? So again, we do the same thing where we call out our board and show the assignees, hit save, and close this out for full screen. And this is it. Like those are the 3 gadgets. What you see on the screen is the 3 gadgets that you get built into Jira. And this is as agile as it gets, folks. This is as agile as it's going to get. And so you're not going to get very far, but this is essentially what you get for free out of the box. Now, of course, you have the ability to add pretty much any other gadget. I don't want to turn this into a dashboard structure, right? But my personal favorites are filter counts. If you're fortunate enough to have JSM, I love filter counts because from an agile perspective, I like to have something like this where, let's pull an Android team, right? So I can build my own custom counts. And so I can say new bugs, right? And so I can say, hey, show me every bug. And I'm going to do show me every bug that was created within the last 24 hours. Because as an agile person, right? As from an agile perspective, like I want to know how many new bugs were created, right? How many new bugs did the team find? Because that's gonna that's going to impact our ability to deliver, right? So we should be looking at this. We should be looking at this particular view. Also, we can do some more customizations, right? We can look at flagged items, right? So if you right click and add a flag to your stories because there's an impediment, right? You can just say, hey, flagged items, and you can again do a little bit of definition. You would limit it to just your your project, your specific work here. But what we do have is the flagged field, and you can say flagged as an impediment, right? So if you have anything that is flagged, it'll show up here as well, right? And so this is again another little bit of an agile kind of thing, right? Because part of our daily scrum is what did we do yesterday, what are we doing today, and any impediments. Well, finding out if you have any new bugs, right? Because you ultimately want to deliver progress, but bugs push you back, right? Bugs are never a forward moving, progressive thing. They're always something that holds you back and pushes you back a little bit. And so I like to find out what new bugs I have. But this again can be anything you want, right? This can be new stories, new tasks, any work that's unassigned that was created in the last 24 hours, right? Things of that nature. But I like to look at my flagged items because when I save my board here, when I save my thing, and if I go into my space that we're talking out of, right? Where's my at last? Oh boy, where did it go? Oh boy, I love the new UI. It's the best. So awesome. So awesome. It's one of the best interfaces in the world. Here we go. If I go to this one and I were to flag it, so if I can do that. I can also create a new bug, right? So if I wanted to create a new bug back over here and just create a brand new bug for my demo, right? So if you create these two items, and assuming I did everything else correctly, again, I don't script these things, folks. Anything can happen. But if I click on my Agile metrics, you can see that I have now one of each, and you can click on it, right? And it'll take you to that item that's flagged. So if I open this item up, the flag is going to be flagged. So this is an easy way, right, to kind of surface all the critical work that you and your team actually care about. So, but again, the only problem is that you do need to have JSM installed. Like JSM needs to be one of your products that you own so that you can get this filter counts. I love filter counts. It's one of my favorite. Yeah, can you tell I don't like the new UI? It's totally the worst. I hate it so much. Okay, and then the last one that I'll leave you off at, so we can move over to the next topic is issue statistics. I love issue statistics. Between this one, between issue statistics and the two-dimensional filters, sorry, two-dimensional, where is it at? Here we go. Two-dimensional filter statistics. Those are my two favorite filters or gadgets. These are awesome. These show you two different fields at the same time. I can show assigning by status, and then I can just show like assignees, right? So if I wanted to do something simple, obviously it's not the best in the world, but it still gets some points across. But this is as close as we can get to some Agile reports. Now, not all hope is lost. Not everything is lost. I'm going to show you a couple of different things that, again, not sponsored, but if you do want to show some love, check out Smart Checklist by Titan Apps. Scan that QR code on the top right corner, as well as that helps Titan Apps, continue to invest and continue to promote on this channel. So help me out by helping them out. Scan the QR code. Okay, so some of the options that you have is you can actually go to your apps. You can explore more apps. I won't be able to install anything here, but I'm working with another company called Great Gadgets for Agile. This is by a company called Stonic Byte. Again, not sponsored for this video, but we are going to be dropping videos very, very soon for them. But if you are looking for more Agile friendly metrics, especially some of the metrics we were looking at yesterday, like your burn down, your cumulative flow diagram, right? A couple more Agile-esque type of things, then you're going to like Great Gadgets here, because this will basically build out some of our more Agile friendly gadgets. So if you're looking for something like, see, they have a release burn down, not just the sprint, but the release, your team velocity gadget, right? A lot of things, the cumulative flow diagram, things they're available as a report, but you can't view them in the dashboard, right? That's unfortunately one of the harsh realities of this. I don't know why Atlassian does that. This should be a feature. I feel like every report should be embeddable in the dashboard, but it's not. And so this is an alternative here. And then the other one that I'll show you, another one that I've used, is just velocity. unfortunately, all it does is velocity, right? So what I like about Great Gadgets is that it does velocity plus a bunch of other things. But this one here, if it does decide to load by broken build, is just velocity charts. And so if you're looking for cross team, right, this is very important for like if you're trying to see multiple boards velocities at the same time, this is going to be a better tool for you all here. So definitely check this one out. Again, not sponsored by them, but worthy mention because I've used them in the past, but only because Jira dashboards come up short. Jira dashboards come up real short when you're trying to do velocity charts. Okay, before we transition to the next topic, because we are running out of time here, I wanted to ask you guys a favor. So my buddy Robert Heen, give me a +1. Who knows Robert Heen? Anybody know Robert Heen? Is anybody familiar with Robert Heen? You guys all probably know Robert Heen. I'm going to show you a picture of Robert Heen. Robert Heen is an awesome individual. Here he is. He's down here. So this is Robert Heen. He usually does Confluence trainings, right? He's one of my peers, one of my good friends here, Robert Heen. And so he does something very special outside of my buddy Robert Heen. Yeah, my buddy Robert Heen should be a T-shirt. Robert Heen does something very special. So not only is he very well known as our Confluence expert and a community instructor like myself, but he has a very up and coming like learning platform and Udemy, right? Like he's a huge Udemist, if that's a word, and he does a lot of Udemy courses. So back in like February or March, I called up Robert and I'm like, hey, we should do a Jira and Confluence Udemy course, right? We should do a Jira and Confluence Udemy course. And that was back in March. Well, folks, we finally did it. We launched a course. Oh, he's got his 101 here. We finally did it. We are finally in a situation with a 2.5 hour course, 0 students, 0 ratings. So we literally just hot off the presses. It went live like maybe 30 minutes before we started this live stream. And so here's the favor. Here's where the rubber meets the road for you guys. And this is again very special here. So if you promise, right? Because we're going to give it away for 100 people, right? But we want the reviews. we need the reviews, right? We for Udemy to favor the Udemy algorithms. We need as many 5 stars reviews as we can get and actually walk through the course. And so this particular course is going to walk you through a little bit of an intro what the course is, a very in-depth 30 minutes on how to use Jira Product Discovery. So Jira Product Discovery is a big part of this whole thing, right? So we're going to cover Jira Product Discovery, and then we cover Jira Plans. So a lot of information on Jira Plans. And then we jump into brainstorming and Confluence. And so this is all Robert Heen now, right? Because he's on the Confluence side of the house. And then we have our section 5, managing Jira work. So we're back to Jira and putting it back in together, right? So if you're not following along, right, we're doing an intake from an idea into Jira Plans, right? We promote the idea into an initiative. We work through the initiative. We have Confluence for some collaboration and documentation. And then we take all those initiatives and everything that's good, we move it down into the board level and we execute on Jira. So we do a lot of the sprint planning. Then we have some retrospectives back in Confluence. And then we have Loom for asynchronous. So this is basically Jira Product Discovery plus a teamwork collection. So if you're a subscriber or you're using the teamwork collection, it'll walk you through that, and then a conclusion, and then like a little bonus section. So if you promise, right, if you promise to actually take the course and leave us a good 5-star review, I'm going to drop the link here. This would be a huge favor you guys can do me, my little Christmas gift, if you will. If you can just take the course and leave us a 5-star, and you get it for free. It's free for the first 100 people. There's 38 of you all in this class here. So if you go and take it, right, we got some pinky promises here from Ms. Guisapina, right? But if you guys pinky promise to take it, right, and drop it, then that would be so awesome. Again, it's completely free for the first 100 people. And so get to it and then take it and leave us a good 5-star review. Again, it's a really in-depth course, right? We put a lot of time and effort into giving you a very holistic solution of how to use not just one tool, but like how all these tools come together to actually deliver value. So pretty cool. Again, teamwork collection. with your product discovery included. And yeah, so that's the little favor. And we're going to get back to our regularly scheduled content. So let's switch gears now that we've done that. And again, thank you to anybody and everybody who takes the class. I'm eternally grateful. Okay, so switching gears, we're going to move to this phenomenon of how do we do multiple sprints, right? Like, how do we collaboratively collaborate with other teams? And there's a couple of different ways to do it. One of the more popular ways to do it is to basically modify your board in such a way that all the work is visible in one board. Like, that's a method, right? And so, what I'm talking about is like you can actually take a board. I'm going to take this developer team B board, and I'm going to pull in my board settings, right? So I can go to my board settings, I can go to my filter query. And what I can do here is I can just pull in the work from not just one team, but from two teams. So I can just do this. It's a very simple click, right? All I did was do one click. But what you're going to see here is you're going to see work from DTB and DT, which are two different projects. So if I save this filter, right, if I save my changes, and if I go back to my board, then this board now contains, the backlog at least, now contains a work from not just one, but two different Jira projects. So you can see a combination of DTB and DTs. And so this is the easiest way. This is like the easiest way. It comes with a lot of cons. We're going to cover those. It comes with a lot of drawbacks. I think is the right word that I'm trying to look at. Thank you so much, Ms. Russo. Thank you so much for enrolling. And again, it's completely free, folks. So take advantage of it. It's free for the first 100. But again, my only favor and ask is we can only give it away to 100 people. And so I want it to be you guys who tune in every single day here. But yeah, just leave us those reviews because Udemy looks at that. Udemy looks at the enrollment, and we want people to take it so that we can, then we can fall into the algorithm, and then I don't have to ask you guys to help me out. Never understood why the promise needs to be a pinky. I don't know, but there was something valuable of like doing the pinky promise as a kid. Like there was, I don't know. It reminds me of being a little kid in the playground and doing pinky promises and stuff. So thank you folks for enrolling, and again, thank you so much. Appreciate you guys. And again, it'll be the best Christmas gift you guys can give me is if you can leave that 5-star review for it. Okay, so this again is the easiest way to do this like cross team planning, because you can have one sprint, right? You can have one sprint and bring the work in. Now, when you do this, the biggest drawback is that you jeopardize your sprints, right? You see this sprint here. You see this task, it belongs to DT1. So when the moment I bring it into this particular sprint, DT1, if I move over to the developer team's board, then that sprint tends to be contaminated. See how I now have DTB sprint 3 in this view? And so things start to get very confusing very, very quickly. So my recommendation, my 2 cents, if you're going to do this route, because it is the lowest overhead, right? This is the easiest way to do this, is to take one Scrum board, right? And then pull in all the work that you want into one Scrum board, and everybody else gets a Kanban board. And so that way you're operating out of only one Scrum board. Because as long as you follow that rule, you're going to be okay. Because where you're going to get in trouble is if you do this. Like if you're moving things around into different sprints, then when I go back, then my other sprint is like now contaminated over here. So now we've like cross-pollinated, and it gets very, very messy very, very quickly. And this problem becomes even worse if I do this. If I go, again, I do not scripted my videos, folks, so this may or may not work, and I hope Atlassian fixed it, right? But if I go to the sprint field, which is not currently visible, so we're going to pull it in. We're going to pull in our sprint field. We can see it. We want to see it, right? But if I go to my sprint field and I go back to my story, I can add DTB sprint 3. Ooh, awesome. It only let me put it in one. Finally, Atlassian fixed it. Okay. If in the past, you used to be able to put it in multiple sprints, and what would happen is the 2 sprints would become one. So I'm so happy that Atlassian has actually fixed this problem, because this is not a problem that we wanted to have. So the problem is only half as bad now, because now we just see and recognize a different board or a different sprint inside this board, which can still be confusing. but it's not detrimental. What used to be very detrimental is a story could be in both sprints at the same time, and that was not good. That was not good at all, and really really bad things would happen. And so luckily Atlassian is only letting you toggle, which is a really good thing, right? So you're either like this or you're the other way. Unfortunately though, you now have that other sprint in this view, so it doesn't help. It's not a pretty view either. So again, this is the easiest way. So my recommendation is, if you're going to do it, the easiest way is have one Scrum board where you pull in all the issues and all the work items from different projects, and then everybody else gets a Kanban board, because you don't want them managing independent sprints, right? You do not want that to be a thing. That's one tip, right? Now the other method, the other way to do this is to basically create a board per team, right? And so the other way that I've done this is using teams, right? So you do want to go define a team. So you want to go to your team section and you want to just make sure you have some teams defined, right? This is the way I've done it in the past, right? Again, you have a lot of teams. In my case, I have a lot of different teams in here, right? But the tactic that I've done in the past is I've gone in and renamed my boards, right? So I've done this as like team B board, right? And I'll save this one. But when I save it, when I save my filter, my criteria, it's everything's in the same team. Sorry, everything's in the same project, right? But I'm gonna switch my JQL to be and team equals, and then I'm gonna bring my team B. All right. When you do this, then only the work that's assigned to that person, like only the work that has that team value filled out, right? So we have our team field here. Only that work is going to show up, which is good, right? And so this is good. This is what I want. And in fact, let me go back because I don't think I saved my filter. But let me save the filter, save my changes, right? So now when I go back to my board and I save this as my team B, um, only that one item is going to show up. I only have one item for team B, right? And so what I tend to do is I tend to have a Kanban board that has all the work. So I'll create a Kanban board that is just like all teams, right? And it's going to bring in everything. So that way I can see everything, right? But then team B is a Scrum board. And then I can also then create now a team A one, right? So I can do team A. And I'll just bring in all the work again. But then I'll modify the filter, right? I'm going to modify the filter for team A. And what I can do in here is, again, very similar to what I did earlier. All I'm doing now, though, is I'm going to modify this filter query so that I have and team equals team A. Oh, boy. There it is, team A, right? And so when I save this, whoa, I do not want to do that. Where's my search? Enter. Dang it. What did I do? Enter. Okay, nothing should come back because I don't have anything assigned to team A yet, right? But when I save this filter, right, and now it's saved here for this board, right, I can now go to my master Kanban board and let me grab a story, right? And I can then go and assign this particular story to team A. And now when I go to the team A board, I will have one task that belongs to them, right? So I'm able to use a field that can only have one value, team, and start segregating which board things are going to show up on, right? And that way it doesn't show up everywhere, right? It only shows up in one particular team or one particular board. So I start to guarantee that a particular story or a task or whatever you want only shows up on one of the two boards or as many boards as you may have, right? So I have team board B, team board A, right? And I'm not seeing a cross pollination. So now what you can do is, if you didn't want to do a Kanban, what now you can do is you can actually create another Scrum board, which is all Scrum, right? And then bring all the work here. And this Scrum board allows you to see everything, right? And so what you're going to be able to do here is, as team A plans their actual sprint, so we have one there, and then team B, as they bring in a sprint, I'm going to put something in there, right? Then the all Scrum should show me two different sprints, and it did not. I might have to start one. What happened here? Why didn't you show it to me? So this should show me everything. Oh, Atlassian, they changed things up on me, and I don't test it out very well. Team B has this. Let me bring in a story. Let's bring a story in. We're gonna send this one to team B. You see, this is already in a different sprint. Let's clear that out. We don't want you to be in anything. Okay, you're in a completed sprint. Not sure why. Let's go. Oopsie, oopsie. I picked the wrong example. Hold up. Let me pick a different example. Not in a sprint. I don't want you in a sprint. Good. I need you in team B. Why does it need to be a B team? Why can't A team have? Oh, because I'm not very creative with my naming conventions, Rodney. Okay, all Scrum. Hopefully, nope, not yet. Okay, so Team A has a backlog with one item, DTB 11. Great. Team B has a backlog with another one. I'm going to pull in an actual story in here. Okay. And let's see. Do we have different sprint names? That's probably where my problem is. Okay, yeah, we haven't created a sprint yet. That's the other problem. So we need to create a new sprint. And see, this is the problem. We need to be very careful with your sprint names, right? Because this is Team A, Sprint 1. And so we don't want the rest of this text here. We're going to click Update. So now when I go to my All Scrum, I should see two different. Yeah, there they are. Team Sprint 1. There we go. Okay, so I'm not smoking crack. It's there, right? So we have Team Sprint A or B, right? DTB is for Sprint B, and then Sprint 1 is for Sprint 1, right? As you can see, this gets a little confusing. This is not easy, but this gives us the ability to have a single place and be able to see everybody's business. Now, where this gets more powerful is if you enable parallel sprints. So you need to go to Command K on your keyboard and do, actually, no, not Command K. You just got to go to your gear, go to Jira apps, and then under Jira configuration, you should allow for parallel sprints to be a thing. And so if we allow that to be a thing, we will now have the ability to start both sprints, right? So I can start Team B. I'm going to call it Team B just so that it's clear to everybody, right? I have Team B Sprint 3, and then I can go back to my backlog and start Team 1 or Team A Sprint 1, right? So now I can start two parallel sprints in at the same time out of the same board using different work, right? And so I don't need to send the work to different spaces. They can all live in the same project or the same space, but they can be on different boards. And then all I need to do if I want to toggle, right? So if I'm in this particular view here and I want to toggle, I can just pick which sprint I want to look at. So I'm going to see Team Sprint 1, or I can see Sprint B, or I can show both, and then all the work gets aggregated. So this is, again, another way. So you have two different ways, right, where you can either, the easiest way, again, right, was create one Scrum board, multiple Kanbans, and then bring all the work, right, because the Kanbans can exist in the different projects, and then bring them all one. Because you can have multiple Scrums, but then all the sprints are going to be like all thrown up in there, and it's not going to be pretty. So don't do that. Or you can have one space with multiple boards so that every team can independently plan their sprint, but then your master Scrum board is going to show you all the sprints and you can just toggle to see which one you want. So those are the two different ways, folks, that you can basically do this safely without getting too involved in a cleanup process. So thank you so much, folks. I think that's it. That's the end. I just want to remind you, what's the most useful thing you learned today? Hopefully it was not that the tacos were a thing, right? But but hopefully you guys have found something valuable. So why don't you let me know what's the most valuable thing you learned today, as we're down to the last 2 minutes. Next week is the last two courses of 2025. So if you want to take those last two courses, those are the last two I'm going to be offering. Hopefully you're subscribed to the channel, folks. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'm asking you to subscribe to the channel now, because I don't think I'm going to be doing these next year. So if you want to be participating in these, if you like these kind of courses, or if you want to just participate in my Jira duties, I think Ronnie and we're going to do Jira duties on the Jira Life. And so just make sure you are subscribing to the various channels here so that you can participate, right? Because there's no shortage of content for y'all here, folks, right? No shortage at all. And so join the school community, take the free course that I just gave you all for our launch of my Christmas present to myself. Again, sign up for the last two. Hit that ring notification so you get notified, because we do go live on a pretty good cadence. So we do at least have a cadence that you can follow along. But yeah, so folks, thank you so much. Again, happy holidays. If I don't see you again next week, I only have 2 more classes and then we're done for 2025. So I hope you come next week. and participate in those last 2 classes. So thank you all very much, and we'll see you next week. Bye.